Right, hey guys, how we doing? We're continuing with Totally Not Mark's reviews of One Piece, and we are checking out his review of Thriller Bark. Now, I actually quite enjoyed Thriller Bark. It isn't the best story, but it isn't, like, terrible either, and it has some goddamn epic moments, man. That Zoro moment with Kuma. But anyway, let's see what he has to say, shall we? Brook! Yeah, I like Brook. Brook's cool. And I liked Luffy's transformation in this. This was cool. It's a one-off as well. There's no way they could do it again, can they now? Well, I mean, they could, but... Yo! Quite like the bad guy. Wasn't amazing again, but I liked his ability. In the books. And she's back in it now.
By the time things were wrapping up with the main story, I was getting kind of bored. But like a phoenix,
the drawing for that massive orc thing is just like, wow, that giant is just cool. Oof.
So, what did I think of it? Well, grab your favorite Tim Burton posters, some pumpkin pie, and a whole bunch of patience, because I'm Totally Not Mark, and this is my first impressions of, thoughts on, and review for a creative, albeit slightly messy, spooktastic adventure on Thriller Bark.
Mate, when you find out that Brook was the captain on the ship, well, yeah, on the ship that the bloody whale was from, oh, that got me, that got me.
Well, there were aspects of this arc I really, and I mean really liked. There was a relatively large section of this story that I would consider to be important, that, to be honest, didn't really work for me. And I will
go on.
in detail why
I thought the Nami bit where she was being made, him trying to make Nami his wife, I was a bit like, oh, can we stop?
My opinions in this video aren't more important than anyone else's. These are just my first impressions, nothing more.
Yeah.
With that said, I will give reasons for every single take I have regarding the story of Thriller Bark, and why it was, for me, the first moment Oda actually felt human in the entire story of One Piece.
Cool.
I mean, it took almost half 1,000 chapters to get to what I thought was a bad chapter, so it's ridiculously impressive I managed to get this far without complaining. Those who've seen my Dragon Ball GT videos know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have reacted to all of them. Thriller
Bark is essentially a mystery adventure rescue story focusing on a very different theme that becomes unavoidably obvious when we arrive on Thriller Bark. And while I will have a
very Halloween
regarding portions that I didn't like, I actually enjoyed a considerable amount of the core story told here, specifically the beginning and the middle. So let's talk about what I really enjoyed in this arc first, before I discuss the things I thought could have been reworked a bit more. Kicking things off, I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that Oda gave us time to enjoy the crew in their new ship.
Yeah, they're chilling.
They come across a literal mystery box in the ocean that, once open, sends up a giant flare. At this point, I knew what was coming, but I really liked it nevertheless.
Yeah.
Almost immediately after, a ghost ship carrying within it a living skeleton called Brook floats on by. And almost immediately after meeting Luffy, he asks him to join his crew, to which Brook says yes, of course. While I thought this was in character for Luffy to do, it distinctly didn't feel like an earned addition to the crew, and I think that's by design. And thankfully, this greatly changes throughout. But what I found really interesting about this sudden recruitment was that despite having been offered and having accepted the position, at the beginning of the next 5 volumes to come, which covers the entirety of Thriller Bark,
yeah, it's not very long, is it?
Featured as a straw hat towards the front of the books, which honestly acts as a nice bit of foreshadowing regarding what happens later regarding Brook's flashback and past. So I really liked that. But to be honest, from the get-go with the character of Brook, I wasn't overly fond of him. I don't particularly like perverted characters, and from the outset,
he's not that
he seemed to be
bad.
much more raunchy than Sanji was. That is, until later in the story, but don't worry, I'll get to that. Ignoring that for now, Brook thankfully becomes a much deeper, more interesting character full of unique problems that tie very much into the history of the established story within One Piece. The presence and introduction of Brook, however, in this instance is less about the crew thinking they've recruited him and more about what he means for the story. He goes on to explain why he is the way that he is due to a devil fruit he consumed, giving him a second chance at life.
The human... Was it the human... No, I can't remember.
Cannot go into direct sunlight without dying.
Yeah.
Every second line he speaks is a pun. Soon after coming across,
he does have a lot of puns, doesn't he?
Thriller Bark, a massive island.
I have no bones. Well, I have no skin. I can't be hungry.
Ominous tone is established successfully, leading to Brook immediately running away across the water, which is on its own an interesting thing to see. But what I love about this beginning can be seen after. Apparently, the flare sent up earlier was a signal to this place known as
Thriller Bark. It's a giant ship, isn't it? Yeah. It's an island that's actually a ship.
The lost shadow of Brook. Apart from it paying off the barrel in a successful manner, what I love is that while approaching this new island, Oda takes the time to explore the new improvements seen to the Thousand Sunny, demonstrating a bunch of
That's amazing.
courtesy of Frankie. One in particular being a small tribute to the Mary that, and this is the awesome part, connects the crew with the threat of Thriller Bark itself, creating a whole bunch of motivation and tension for the story. Additionally, something I thought was really clever before exploring Thriller Bark was how Oda establishes right away who among the crew doesn't want to investigate the spooky island and who does. Chopper, Nami, and Usopp are those such people that want nothing to do with it. But when out testing the new Mini Mary craft, they don't come back. Leaving those who did want to go investigate, i.e. the most competent people, left worried for their safety. Now we have two goals as a reader. Get the shadows back to restore Brook back to normal, despite him after running away, and to retrieve the now lost crew. The second goal is exceptionally important as it gives the characters a reason to explore the new island and to establish the surroundings for the reader while also attempting to fulfill the narrative goal. It's a fun idea that works, I think.
Excuse me.
After this point, there's just a whole mess of mystery.
There's so much weird stuff going on.
We start slipping into the second act of the story, which takes up a large chunk of the overall.
Chopper's whole doctor thing was cool because he knew the doctor and was like, I can't believe you do this now.
Small character moments through Nico Robin demonstrating that she loves adventure and isn't scared of much, proving to be much more curious and less scared than anything else.
Devil Fruit's so OP.
What I was hoping for from her, helping her feel very distinct from Nami too. What's more, and something I referred to multiple videos ago during the Skype arc, was how Robin would refer to everyone not by their name, but by some other impersonal moniker, like Big Nose referring to Usopp or Navigator referring to Nami. However, now, in contrast to that, Robin refers to everyone by their name after the events of Enies Lobby. It's incredibly subtle and so easily missed, but for those that do notice, it really helps these characters feel all the more human and likable.
Yeah.
With this specific instance,
they're growing as a family.
she is allowing herself to get close to these friends. It's a beautiful thing to see and honestly really appreciated.
Yeah, it's classic.
Following this little nugget, as readers, we are bombarded by information of this world and its inhabitants, watching as the gang get ambushed, attacked, stalked, kidnapped, and all the other things.
Oh my.
Featuring classic horror tropes and favorites like...
Oh yeah, there's the invisible guy. That's the lion guy, isn't it? Yeah.
Frankenstein, sort of, much later, which is a really cool
berries. Nami wants the money.
If nothing else, this arc certainly has its own unique voice and feels distinct from...
It definitely stands out from everything else, yeah.
...in the story of One Piece, which is something I also very much enjoyed. But this section of the main story, I believe, is the absolute strongest part. So let's break down why I thought this was really effective and clever. As I explained earlier, Oda took the time to establish who among the crew wanted to explore the island. He then took those among them who didn't want to explore it
and made them explore it
first to discover everything. As it's always more fun to watch those uncomfortable in a situation try to figure it out and stay cool.
Yeah.
Through them, we meet a three-headed beast, some zombies, and a whole host of monsters before arriving at a haunted house where they meet another key character called Dr. Hogback. In this haunted house, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens.
He's been doing crazy experimental stuff.
Led by Luffy, experience the exact same tribulations, but in a much more funny way due to their not being scared.
Yes.
This is enjoyable to watch only
because taking that around, just guiding them,
Nami and Chopper's experiences with them. Circumstances like this reinforce character for both parties, and I found to be massively entertaining. I specifically burst out laughing as I watched Luffy
just push it back into the floor. Yeah, that was amazing.
I don't think I've ever seen someone try to do that before, and when I saw it, I just burst into tears.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Once Luffy is done doing the Rubberman hokey pokey all over these... The gang encounter a man that gives us our first taste of the most important character in this arc. One of the 7 warlords of the sea.
Oh my god.
And in what becomes a really nice swerve in the story, the floating island of Thriller Bark happened to be the
It's a giant ship
in the world, captained by none other than Mr. Moria himself. That moment in particular was a moment I sort of kicked myself for not predicting sooner.
Yeah.
Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy, in a really unexpected turn of events, all get their shadows gobbled up and placed into other zombies. Those zombies now...
This concept was interesting, yeah. And they start off with a little bit of their personalities, don't they?
Back at the ship. This leaves just Frankie and Robin, the 2 newest additions to the crew, to demonstrate what they are made of and allows them to get more time with
He's made of steel.
really enjoyed. Also, there's this super creepy spider
monkey.
Absolutely terrifying and totally the stuff of nightmares. And on top of that, Robin can fly, sort of.
She can make arm wings.
So that's pretty tight, not gonna lie about that. And also, This is sort of tangential to everything that I've been saying thus far, but I had to address it here. The amount of times that this particular arc mentions, quote, the new world, was quite striking, which I suppose tells me that we're going to be going there at some point.
We're on the way now in the bit I'm reading.
Gone right there for the time being. Anyways, to cut a long story short, Luffy's shadow is thrown into this giant ice monster
which is so cool.
Bigger than a typical giant should be, and in a fun turn of events, when the shadows are absorbed initially, the residual personality of the shadows
stays there for a bit,
takes over the zombie's vessel for a certain amount of time, which leads to a really interesting dynamic the crew have to later face. They have to fight a giant Luffy
that wants to be the Pirate King.
But it comes with a restriction that required Moria not to take out Sanji, Luffy, and Zoro, and so they left him on the ship ready to reconvene with the rest of the crew.
Yeah, because if the original person dies, then doesn't the shadow also like disappear, thus not having the zombie being able to be controlled?
Shadow is acting like a fool everywhere.
Yeah, it's just destroying everything.
So a new deadline is introduced to create suspense, and it does it quite effectively. And that deadline is
before sunrise. Yeah.
Since they lost their shadows, the sun will now kill them if it hits them. Them being the strongest fighters.
Wait, but then, interesting. So is that the only exception to it? Like, so if the sun kills them, that's okay. Because I thought, like, if Luffy died, then that ogre giant thing.
The shadows will return to their normal owners. It's another wonderful example of Luffy adding to the story by being so straightforward and clear.
Yeah, so I just gotta beat this guy up. Okay, cool.
At its source by taking out one of the warlords of the sea. And while
he's just chilling. It's like, what are you gonna do?
The rest of the crew decide to take out.
Doesn't he go underneath then?
For their own shadows, respectively, to act as a sort of contingency plan in case Luffy's doesn't work out. And with the added mission of still rescuing Nami, during this portion with the Straw Hats, there are 4 secondary fights.
Cool fights.
Against the underlings of Moria, and I love 3 of them. I'll save the other one for a later point in the video. So let's start with Chopper versus Dr. Hogback.
Alright.
I haven't really spoken about him too much in this video, but Dr. Hogback, up until this point, has been the villain that has honestly had the most build-up and backstory explained to us. He's actively lied to every one of the Straw Hats he's met, put them all in danger, kidnapped people, and has resurrected their corpses using Moria's powers. The place exists because of him, and so, needless to say, I was more than invested in seeing this psychopath get taken down along with his warped view of how morality and the world works. Additionally, Chopper, I thought, was an ideal candidate to face off against.
Definitely, like he knows the history of like the whole Doctor stuff.
Not only was Dr. Hogback established to be a huge inspiration to Chopper when he was studying medicine, but also because their philosophies, as it pertains to helping people, are polar opposites.
Yeah.
As we learn, Dr. Hogback's motivations are entirely driven by greed, highlighted through the character of Sanji, who he specifically rose from the dead just to serve and be with him, despite her utter refusal to do the exact same thing when she was alive, which is just all sorts of messed up.
Yeah, it's weird, man. That is weird.
Line for Chopper to work with alongside Robin in a tag team effort against them. And perhaps the most interesting aspect of this fight was the internal struggles Sanji was fighting to foil her master Hogback's plan, resulting ultimately in his defeat, which is
the
a nice
plates,
little
man.
trick, proving that Hogback lost and was defeated simply because of who he was, which is always incredibly satisfying for me as a reader. Zoro versus Ryuma.
Mates.
A couple of things about this fight my editor brought to my attention was that the character of Ryuma is based on a character Oda created for an entirely different one-shot manga called Monsters. Which on its own is a neat little factoid about this battle.
That's cool.
What I loved most about it was how it was structured. You see, the entire fight itself takes place in a sort of flashback, which not only is a unique way to mix things up and deliver.
Isn't there something about his sword that's decent as well?
Used to tremendous effect in this particular case. The fight begins, strangely enough, at the very end of it, with Zoro looking as though he had completely lost.
Yeah.
As we continue through,
And then he goes back. Yeah. It's an interesting way of showing it.
The entire fight taking place in a flashback. The interesting part being that right now we think that we know the ending, which, as I explained in my Alabasta video, is something known as dramatic irony, or at least we think we do. Throughout the entire fight, we have a sinking feeling in the back of our minds that despite Zoro's best efforts here, he's destined to lose. However, as it happens, as a nice swerve, how we interpreted the ending of this fight scene when we were first shown it was incorrect. Zoro, despite having a lot of trouble with this undead samurai, manages to put him away, proving that he is deserving of one day becoming the greatest swordsman
Hell
in the
yeah.
land. And so not
Zoro!
only did this fight scene provide a nice little character moment here and there for Zoro, not only did it employ an interesting format, but it also elevated both of the warriors involved.
And that's Brook's shadow, isn't it?
At all. And with this victory under his belt, Zoro also returns to the body of Brook, his shadow.
There you go.
For the first
Yeah.
time in many, many years.
Oh, that was brilliant. Usopp not being affected by her devil fruit powers.
Usopp versus Perona. This fight is fantastic.
Yeah.
And in my humble
Usopp's
opinion,
always got
the best
amazing
fight
moments.
in this entire arc, using established techniques like those ghosts that inject negative emotions and a host of goofy things supplied by Usopp. This fight serves to demonstrate why he is such a phenomenally useful character.
Definitely.
On its own as a
I'm always negative.
Use your weaker characters to great effect in a fight scene. Demonstrated earlier in the arc as the first creature they see, these ghosts commanded by Perona suck the joy out of a person.
Yeah, make you feel really, really down.
This was played for laughs a large number of times throughout the arc on various characters like Sanji, Luffy, and Zoro, rendering them entirely useless.
I find it interesting that she's been kept
Usopp,
still.
those ghosts have zero effect on the sniper, as he is already terrified and as down as he possibly can be. It is tremendously sad, but while this works as a great gag, it also serves to emphasize how utterly gutsy and courageous Usopp needs to be at all times in order to operate while being so.
Yeah, he needs to overcome his fear, man. Constantly.
It shows how much he cares for his friends for him to be able to work through something like this on a consistent
Constantly
basis.
stressed.
In addition to that, this fight sequence forces Usopp to use his head. His lies finally.
Oh yeah, because he had to find her actual body, didn't he?
Tricks hit their mark, leaving Perona in an emotional heap the same way she leaves her opponents. It was such a fun, unpredictable, and character-rich sequence that proved to be an easy highlight amidst this arc. And okay, so I'm about to dive into my opinions on some things I didn't like as much.
Okay, here we go.
I'll try to justify every conclusion I've come to as clearly as I can, so alright, let's dive in.
Okay. No way. No way is that way. Huh.
Sanji versus the invisible beast guy. Okay, so I'll start.
He doesn't sound happy about this at all.
This might very well be the Irish Catholic upbringing that's making me cringe during these moments, or
right.
causing me to find them overly
I did
crass.
find it annoying.
That one scene where the invisible guy does some truly despicable things to Nami in the shower really made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was weird.
Those famous shower scenes from horror films, but jeez, does this go on for a long time and is immediately followed by a gag with Usopp. I understand that this is meant to make us hate this invisible leopard character, but I felt as though it took a few steps too far, considering this is a manga for kids at the end of the day. With that said, however, the character who assaulted Nami and Robin is confronted by the White Knight Sanji during one of the
kick his ass.
Now, as you might remember, I specifically didn't like this fight scene as mentioned so above. Not necessarily because I thought it was poorly choreographed or uninteresting visually. I thought it even had some interesting moments here and there in terms of character, but unlike the rest of the fights, which served to elevate the characters involved respectively, this actively made me dislike Sanji more. If any of you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that my favorite character in One Piece was Sanji. And I also hated this invisible character, so I was more than invested in watching him beat him up. Sanji, who, leading up to this fight, expressed rage when he heard the news about how he treated and attacked the girls of the Straw Hat crew. And while he is angry at this fact, it's revealed during this fight that a large portion of what made him so intensely angry about it was that he was also looking specifically for that devil fruit the invisible leopard man was using. And in this sequence, Sanji flat out admits to being just as bad as this guy that we all hate, wanting to use it for awful reasons as well. And what's even more confusing to me is that this is played for laughs. As I said, this sort of tainted the character of Sanji for me.
I thought it was a bit funny.
He's also a sucker for the ladies, so I hope that gag doesn't get old too fast.
Oh dear.
Yikes.
Oh no.
Called it. I didn't fully understand him as a character leading up to this correctly, but to me, up until this point, I always saw him as more of a Brock from Pokemon type character.
Yeah.
One that idolizes women and wants to always sweep them off their feet. He saw them as people to fight for and to die for. And this is a flaw on its own, sure, but it's a flaw that comes from a good place. Up until this point, for me, Sanji had been walking this fine line of a lovable idiot, obsessed with chivalry.
I suppose, yeah, and then as soon as he mentions that he wanted this invisible devil fruit for that, I suppose it's like,
I honestly hated. And to me, that made me like him a whole lot less. Taking from him what was for me an interesting layer layer of complexity and replacing it with an extremely uninteresting and tired anime trope that I personally never found particularly funny. Again, maybe this is the Irish Catholic upbringing in me, but that sort of stuff never resonated with me in any meaningful way. Now, if any of you guys disagree, I'd be interested to hear your arguments in the comment section down below, or if you really want to at me.
I mean, it wasn't really something that I took away. It's like, oh, I thought it was a tiny bit funny, but then I don't know. I suppose it's like, again, personal opinion, isn't it? They're all just holding each other.
The third act.
Alright.
Personally, I found that unlike all of the other arcs in One Piece, that all seem to have paced themselves really well for me in the past, this arc's final act really dragged its feet up until Moria was defeated for me.
Yeah.
While I thought the concept of a giant monster Luffy was interesting, forcing the crew to deal with him while Luffy is off getting a super buff power-up, I thought that once the personality of Luffy faded into the background, he became the single most boring opponent in the show for me. Without a personality to latch onto that drives the decisions he's making, I wasn't a big fan. He's just a zombie like every other one. And I think Oda recognized that too, as almost immediately after that personality vanished, Moria starts piloting him like the empty vessel he is. Which is good news, but unfortunately for this arc,
I thought it was just a really good example, well, time for like the whole crew to start working together, like, because we're not actually seeing all of them work together, like, yeah.
For example, unlike Alabasta that spent a considerable amount of time in various scenes and various scenarios developing and establishing a rich personality
crocodile
for us, the audience, Moria isn't revealed until halfway through the story and is in very few scenes that show his personality or motivation.
Yeah, I suppose I don't really know much about him still.
A lot of people don't like his design, but as a character with this specific Devil Fruit ability, I thought the fact that his silhouette was so unique made him a perfect design for both the theme of this world and a perfect fit for that ability. But by the time
mate, as soon as you seen Kuma was there as well, I was like, oh, there's there's 7 warlords of sea there.
Guys had been dealt with before even beginning the fight with Moria. But that isn't even my biggest issue with the character. His moveset seems to come out of nowhere. Typically, when a Devil Fruit power is established, the powers are either explained, shown, or understood before the climax decides
definitely.
them to work. But in this final fight, it honestly felt as though Moria was inventing powers
as he was going. Yeah, I give you that. I will give you that. Yeah.
So, let me explain. Crocodile could do fantastical things with his sand powers, but they were always either foreshadowed or had something inherently known about sand as a material.
Yeah, like we understood it. Yeah, definitely. Nothing, you didn't question anything, so it was like, right, okay, cool. But yeah, this was like, oh, so I can manipulate the shadow to make the body move and stuff, and it's just like, okay.
As it should be derivative of his particular ability. Whereas swapping places with your
the shadow,
as well as a host of random powers Moria seem to have with this particular Devil Fruit ability, seem to come out of absolute nowhere.
Yeah,
just to create
I give you that. I agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
These weren't subversions. These were just pulled out of nowhere, and it was all the more unsatisfying for it for me.
It was a bit confusing.
There weren't aspects of this final fight that I enjoyed tremendously. In fact, there's quite a lot. I really enjoyed that Moria isn't the typical cool-looking villain, but more importantly, I specifically adore that he takes the combined efforts of all the Straw Hats to defeat him at the end of the day.
Yeah, that was cool.
Several characters like Chopper utilizing what makes them special to identify weak spots and to form a strategy to defeat him. But even if
go team!
That, awesome scenes like this one where Robin outplays him in a physical
she nearly snaps his neck.
And in a really brutal way too, which is totally elevating her in my favorite character list. But more importantly, this was an incredibly satisfying sequence because she overcame in a creative way what we already understood were the established parameters of this particular exchange. Moria comes out of nowhere with an ability
because he swapped his shadow.
Explained or derived from what we understood about shadows, completely sucking the earned tension out of the scene. And I say that not because I wanted Robin to win per se. I honestly don't really care who gets the win in this case. I only care about how the narrative in a fight scene adheres to certain rules in order to achieve a desired effect. If all the characters did in the scene was pull out made-up moves out of nowhere all the time, then that would be really boring.
It would be boring, yeah.
What makes a fight scene interesting for me anyway is the creativity employed by the author in deriving surprise or tension utilizing what we already understood about the scene or characters involved. In this particular case, Oda has Moria effectively say, "You activated my trap card."
Yeah, alright.
Really sucked me out of the entire occasion. Luffy also during this section I thought felt a little weird. I thought the idea idea of him absorbing the powers of all the shadows was sort of cool.
That was cool.
You know, sort of kept in theme with the idea of everyone in this working together to overcome Moria.
Yeah.
But when he says this quote, "There's only one Luffy, and it's me," while roided out on the power of 100 other people that aren't Luffy, I had a bit of a chuckle, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Anyway, even after this roided out attack on Moria,
Roided out.
thought he was done at this point, you're sorely mistaken. Moria gets up after seemingly being defeated for the third time and absorbs the powers of 1,000 shadows, effectively
But it's too much.
himself a tummy ache, defeating
Yeah.
himself. But perhaps the most ludicrous part of this entire fight
Here we go.
was its ending. Earlier in this arc, it's established that Moria can't simply be defeated for the shadows to all return to the Straw Hats and the other people they were taken from. He needs to voluntarily choose to relinquish these shadows.
Yes,
and
he
send
did
them
say
back
that, didn't
to
he?
their
Yeah.
respective owners. And at the end of this arc, he decides that the new world will take care of them and give them everything they deserve. He does this despite the fact that everyone is literally
Oh
seconds
yeah,
away from being
the sun is
erased.
literally
He
burning
does
them all
this
out.
being seconds away from winning.
Winning.
He didn't even need to fight anymore. He could have quite literally done nothing.
Just walked away,
and
yeah.
won. But he didn't. Instead, he chose to give up at literally the last possible second. This is akin to being infinity points.
Never thought about
in
that.
the NBA Finals.
Never thought about that.
With a second left
That's
in the
very
clock,
valid.
Forfeit the match. That wasn't what I wanted from this occasion.
Huh.
And that pretty much covers everything that I didn't like, really.
I-
And to be honest, it felt a little weird.
Yeah, I didn't
to
think of that at
criticize
all.
so
He really could have
continuously.
just just walked
Time for
away
some
and
more
won.
Peak One Piece
Kuma!
that picks up immediately after this.
Mate.
The ending of the arc. Okay,
Oh my
this was
God.
friggin' amazing.
Yes.
Like, not at all what I was expecting. Especially after the lukewarm finish I experienced with the conclusion of the last fight. But this fight sequence really impressed me. Not
My
because it
God.
was particularly flashy, though it did have some of its moments for sure, but because of the character writing that was on display throughout. The development on behalf of the entire Straw Hat crew is abundantly clear. So this Warlord Bartholomew Kuma guy arrives and is just the most intimidating person we've
Yeah, he's
met
so
far.
goddamn OP.
He's completely no nonsense and all about following the orders of the government. And once his eyes are set on the unconscious Luffy and the Straw Hats, he systematically plows through each and every
everyone.
one of them with little to no effort.
Yeah, he doesn't even
Yet
try,
in a
man.
defiant, brilliant panel, they all defiantly scream that they will never give up on defending their captain. It's a beautiful moment. However, moments later, with absolute ease, he renders each and every one of the Straw Hats unconscious. Well, almost everyone.
Zoro!
Zoro once again steps up to the plate.
This is so sick.
With lines like, "When disaster looms, you've got to step up or shove off. Making excuses isn't going to change anything. If I die here, then I wasn't worth much to begin with." As an absolute last resort, understanding that he can't win in this situation, Zoro offers up his head in place of Luffy's. Sanji objects to this, but very quickly Zoro
Just knocks him out. He's just like, get
With this
down.
sacrifice, Kuma extracts all the suffering Luffy endured during this battle and offers it to Zoro to hold and bear for him.
Oof.
Resulting in
Nothing.
this arc finishes incredibly
Yeah,
strong.
so
With not
good.
just moments like I
Nothing
spoke about
happened.
regarding Zoro, but also with delivering backstories for new additions like Brook, and in a shocking turn of events that I absolutely did not see coming. I'm serious. Had you given me 100 years, I wouldn't have.
Yes,
so
oh mate, I love this.
But as it turns out, Brook is
Couldn't
the last
believe it.
surviving crew member from the Rumber Pirates, the very pirates that befriended Laboon and left him waiting over 50 years ago. This
Yeah.
added, for me, much needed complexity to Brook as a character,
class.
presenting him as someone that stresses and worries about keeping his afro, not necessarily just because he likes it, but because he's
Laboon
actually
liked
aware
it.
of it being possibly the only part of him that Laboon
Will
himself
recognise.
will remember,
Yeah.
along with one other token that left me in tears. There's a beautifully intimate
Oh,
scene
the
at
song.
the very end of this arc between Luffy, Brook, and the piano, wherein Brook begins lamenting over his past, what he's lost, and the story of how he got
He has
to
it
where he
recorded,
is.
doesn't he, with the crew?
Communicated through a fittingly haunting rendition of a song by the name of Binks' Sake, sung by him and his crew as they fall away one by one before leaving him.
Alone.
It's a beautiful scene that paints Brook as a very lonely soul,
Yeah.
isolated and lost in a room filled with people. But this time it's different. He's not alone, and in a very real way this time, he's accepted into the crew by Luffy. And so, I guess Luffy's finally found the musician he's been looking to recruit since
yeah,
the beginning of the story. But even that's not the most entertaining part, if you'll believe it. Earlier in the story, Kuma announces that Blackbeard, whom we last saw clashing with Ace, is being chosen as Crocodile's replacement as one of the 7 warlords of the sea. We also learned that whatever happened between Blackbeard and Ace, it resulted in Blackbeard getting away and Ace being taken prisoner by the government. Well, if that wasn't enough, at the very end of this arc, we learned that the piece of paper Ace gave Luffy in Alabasta all those chapters ago is a piece of verve or life paper.
Yeah,
essentially, for all intents and purposes,
how you can find someone.
Luffy to Ace,
yeah.
allowing him to find it more easily. And according to that piece of paper, in Luffy's possession, Ace is
in trouble.
barely hanging on.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly exciting, sad, but exciting and interesting to hear. So I guess that's where we're going next. Despite this arc being much
it's Impel Down next, isn't it? Is it? Or is it the...
With the rest, I still very much enjoyed my time towards
Sabody Archipelago. I'm not sure.
The conclusions to this arc are nothing short of harrowing.
No, Sabody Archipelago is before Impel Down.
With Zoro for the first time in a very long while being the standout character. To be honest,
there's Amazon Lily as well.
So
where's that? Oh,
yeah. The past few arcs that all Zoro's done over the last couple of arcs has speak every now and again before fighting the second strongest guy, and he does amazingly well in that role. But this arc's conclusion for me cemented him as one of the absolute best fits as Luffy's
definitely.
#2.
Yeah.
As for Brook, someone I honestly didn't enjoy much of early on due to the crass nature he was introduced with, very quickly became more of a character I could sink my teeth into, with, once again, the conclusion to this arc managing to flesh out this old bag of bones all the more. There's a pun for you right there that hasn't been used. I'm now halfway through my adventure through the high seas of One Piece as I endeavor to catch up with the rest of the world. And with the Nightmare Before Christmas style story that was Thriller Bark now in the books, despite its downsides, I'm still very happy I checked it out and finished it. There were some truly interesting, touching, and well-written scenes throughout. It just so happened to be dragged down by a very ill-conceived villain, in my opinion, with some issues.
The ending, I never thought about it.
As I continue down the road
could have just walked away.
And don't forget, if you want to support the channel, check out One Punch Man Road to Hero 2.0 using the link in the description. But that'll do it for this video. I've been Totally Not Mark. I'll see you all next week, and thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, I like Thriller Bark, but again, it isn't the best. Every arc seems to just like get better, and then you get to Thriller Bark, and it's just alright. It wasn't amazing, but it's alright. I enjoyed it. But I like Brook. I like his connection to the whale. And yeah, again, another example of like using animals for like emotive kind of stuff. The snake. It's always like to show time as well, isn't it? Like the snake in Skypiea and all that. The frog at Water 7 / Ennie's lobby. Yeah, and we got the Boon, the whale, showing like the time, the 50 years. Yeah, so yeah, cool. I will check out the next review. I'm speeding through One Piece now, so I'm definitely going to be putting one of these reactions up every Monday. I'll try. It was Tuesday last week. I apologise for that, but I'll try my best. Definitely getting one every week anyway. So yeah, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link is in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. Greatly appreciated. And thank you all very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should want to discuss in future videos. Not so you guys, just all you guys. Next time.